I'm here to talk to you about investing in scaling IoT technology companies. And I think it's very important that I kind of just tie in what Barry spoke about earlier in terms of how the companies that we invest in are connected and the synergies between the companies that make our fund cohesive. So just in terms of our fund itself, we plan to invest in up to 30 high growth companies over the next probably four to 5 years. We are investing in AI companies, we're investing in AR and VR companies, and we're investing in Internet of Things and IoT companies. They're all in the what I would call late seed stage. They're past the angel stage, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. I think key things to consider around our fund is that while we invest at the late seed stage, we are also following our money on into Series A and beyond before we end up bringing the companies to the level of growth that we're trying to achieve. Our fund has a target of £20 million, and we are investing in EU companies, but primarily in the UK and in the Republic of Ireland. And we have a target of a 30% IIR across our portfolio. Just in terms of our stage of investment, we are investing at past the angel stage, but more the late sort of seed stage, and our typical investment is somewhere around about £750,000 or $1 million in that general area. And then we follow on. We will co-invest with other funds or co-invest with others in our investments. Just in terms of the S-curves of innovation, I think we have seen the PC revolution, we've seen the internet revolution and the mobile revolution, particularly around mobile internet. But also, now we're seeing revolutions in the whole space of AR and VR. We're seeing this all connected in with IoT, and think about the information that's been created using AR and VR devices, where there's eye tracking, there's information coming back about how people are using these devices. And then you've got the whole AI piece, the artificial intelligence piece, analyzing all of this data to create real-world outcomes. So what is IoT? Can anybody here tell me, do you guys all use IoT during your daily lives? Who here uses IoT every day? Okay, so there's 4 people in the room who use IoT every day. Oh, I've got a 5th one. Excellent. I know Barry does as well. He's just not listening to me. That's 6. So let me ask you another question. Have any of you got Apple Watches? Who's got an Apple Watch or a Google Watch? Okay, so you definitely tick the box. Anyone got a smartphone? Anyone in the room got a smartphone? Only 5 people? What? Does anyone use Logi-Circle cameras at home, or Nest devices, or Hives, or any kind of information like that? All of these things are IoT devices. So they're either sensors gathering data in a particular location, trying to find out about what's going on, taking that data, pushing it back to the internet, and then using the analysis and tools available through software on the internet to actually analyze that data and create real-world outcomes. So, and that's just in the B2C scenario. So when we talk about Industry 4.0, you have a much broader scale, a much larger application in terms of the numbers of sensors and the numbers of devices, and also the amount of computing required to actually drive all this data analytics and again create real world outcomes, real outcomes that are actually meaningful, that can actually change how something is carried out, using AI without human intervention, for example, to actually change directions of a manufacturing process. So what is IoT? The answer is it's pretty much any device that is connected to the internet. It's a device or devices that are connected to the internet, and it covers things like home automation, things like health and well-being, your Apple Watch or your Fitbit, gathering data about what you're doing and giving you real feedback. One of the most interesting sort of real-world stories that I've heard recently was where a person's heartbeat went over 200 BPM, and their Apple Watch put up a message saying, "Go to hospital," and they actually did, and their life was saved. So it's really incredible IoT in action in a B2B scenario in our daily lives. It's incredible. But also, more so than that, if you think about all of the other things that we're using IoT for these days, and we should talk about it, we think, in the context of some of our companies later on that we've invested in, but managing traffic systems, managing cars, the information that your car gives you back. For example, with Google Maps, when I park my car, I get a message telling me where I've parked my car so that I know where to go and find it. It's amazing. So it's all of the things that we see on the screen here. It's vehicles, it's human issues. It's things around the retail environments, data coming back from sensors from retail environments, from shopping. Data coming back from what Barry talked about in terms of AR and VR, the information about how you're using your headset in an AR or VR type scenario. So I think this report on your screen, it comes from McKinsey, and I think the interesting statistic around that is where that whole market has the potential to grow to somewhere between 3.9 trillion and 11.1 trillion by 2025. So let's just take a little look about how those devices are, the usage and the proliferation of devices is coming along. So back in the 60s, before all of our time, there was mainframes, and there was probably about a million worldwide mainframes all over the world. Then mini computers came out, and you had maybe tens of millions of those by sort of the 1980s. And then the PC revolution, where it went to hundreds of millions of units by the mid-1990s. And then desktop internet, connected devices, connected internet on PCs before you had the mobile revolution. And there you have, again, probably close to 1 billion units connected on the desktop internet. And then mobile, billions. And now the predictions are that by 2022, 2025, in the Internet of Things, that you will have literally tens, if not more, billion devices connected to the internet and available, all sharing data. So just in terms of market opportunity, and this is purely around IoT services, not the actual global market which we talked about earlier. You're talking about estimates of around $250 billion globally by 2022 in terms of market opportunity from IoT services. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about our own companies that we've invested in the IoT space. So I'll talk to you a little bit about Waya. Waya is a platform for IoT devices. It's a platform with a number of different key areas. One is around getting children interested in the whole maker environment, learning about devices, learning about sensors, learning about connecting them up. It's got a system for programming that's very similar to Scratch, where you can literally just drag and drop code, and it actually just builds the environment for you. There's a hardware component, allowing people to build IoT systems, a bit like Lego, to be quite honest, and helping children from as early as probably 6+ to get involved with, learn how to program, learn how to connect devices, learn how to do really exciting things with electronics and with software code. What's interesting for me about Waya is that there are around about 30,000 developers using their platform right now. But what I really find exciting is that Facebook acquired Parse for 85 million when they had about 60,000. So that gives me great optimism about where we are with Waya at the moment. I want to talk a little bit more about Novalia. Novalia is a cybersecurity platform for medical devices, and it provides an analysis platform for manufacturers to identify areas of risk for cybersecurity attack within their device and within their portfolio of devices. And this is something that is absolutely necessary within the IoT environment. There are so many devices going out into the marketplace, and the opportunity for them to be attacked or come under cyber attack is very, very significant. This product analyzes the problems, gives feedback to the manufacturers, and then provides solutions to prevent that from happening on an ongoing basis. So it's not just a case of fixing it once and everything's fine. It's an ongoing analysis and making sure that these devices are patched and that they're up to date with their security systems. And then the other company that I think in our IoT space in our portfolio is Provision. It's cameramatics for fleet management. It's literally a software platform leveraging existing IoT sensors and devices, and typically cameras within mobile fleets all over the world. And the key benefit of this is particularly in the areas of accident and insurance. So where there is a vehicle or a number of vehicles out in a fleet, if there's an accident, the fleet owners and managers have the ability to identify the cause of accidents immediately in real time with the data that's coming back from Provision's cameramatics software platform. So this has what's really interesting about this product and this company is that they have a payback somewhere between 3 and 9 months for the software platform that they have for the fleets. So that's a really great return on investment for companies that have large fleets and are trying to manage risk within their organizations. The other thing that I think we should probably mention is that there are some competition in this space, a company called Samsara, and we're seeing that Provision are competing successfully and winning deals over Samsara, particularly in the UK, over the last number of months. The other thing that I think we should just touch on briefly is that the whole, where are we getting our deal flow from, particularly around IoT. So we've invested in a research centre called the NDRC, the National Digital Research Centre in Ireland, and we've taken a number of companies from that accelerator. And why I was one of them. We also have a couple of others as well, Artomatics that I think Barry might have talked about earlier, and another one called Wardux, which went through NDRC as well. Very comparable with accelerators that you would know here in the UK and in London, like Founders Factory or Techstars. So that's just to give you an overview of the kind of IoT companies that we're investing in. And also, we're adding companies to our portfolio, I would say frequently. And I think there should be some new interesting IoT companies coming online in the next couple of months. Just very quickly on the IoT market, I know I've got about 3 minutes left. This here is the UK IoT market, and I think a couple of key things that are interesting are the growth rate there between 2016 and the predicted growth rate of 2020. And I also think that the other things that are kind of interesting for me are around the way that a lot of the VC investment, particularly in IoT space, is in the southeast of England. I think that's something that is worth mentioning. It's London. It's kind of Cambridge and kind of below to the east. So if we've got investors in the audience who are interested in investing, and they're not from these regions, it'll be very exciting to talk to you about Sure Ventures. I want to talk just a little bit about Industry 4.0 and probably around some of the use cases and some of the stories that are really, really interesting around IoT. So one of the ones where which I think is great, is just understanding, return on investment in IoT. And one that really stood out for me was Royal Dutch Shell. They invested $85,000, just $85,000, in 80 oil fields that they have across West Africa. And within 1 year, they had a saving of $1 million. Very impressive. This oil field produces 600,000 barrels of oil per day. That's just putting in sensors to understand how the system is working and to literally manage that using the data that's coming back from the IoT platform that they implemented. The other one that I think is interesting is Harley Davidson. They reduced their build-to-order manufacturing cycle by a factor of 36, and they grew overall profitability by only 3 to 4% by shifting production to a fully IoT-enabled plant. But they managed to save $250 million by doing this, which is very, very impressive. This, by the way, this information is coming from Capgemini's report, just in case you want to go and look at that and see where it's actually coming from. So, a couple of things that I think, because I know I'm about to get told to stop, is now is a really great time to invest in IoT. Why is that? think about our S-curves of innovation. We're very much at the early stage of where IoT is actually going to grow out to, particularly with the supporting industries that are there, the AI industry, AR and VR, all of the other things that are going on along with that. And thinking about how, in 2016, there was 6.4 billion devices connected globally. There's going to be 50 billion devices connected by 2020, according to Cisco. So I think just in terms of IoT, just in terms of what we are doing with Insure Ventures, we are investing in companies that have huge opportunity for growth rate. We are investing in the IoT companies, connecting them up with AR and VR, connecting it up with AI. So these companies have great opportunity to leverage that whole ecosystem and become great billion-dollar companies. So just in summary, the market is becoming more established, and hardware and software platforms, they're now in place to support innovation in IoT. The cost of technology is coming down. The infrastructure, 5G is becoming available. Broadband is becoming faster. So it's all there to facilitate the IoT environment. The quality and the performance of the devices is becoming better and more reliable. And IoT-focused incubators like NDRC are creating great new innovation for folks like yourselves to invest in. So I'd encourage you to come along and meet our team at stand 101, 102, and 103, and also our colleagues in Emotion, who we've invested in, AIM-listed Emotion, on stand 134. I'm Cian Hughes. I'm a venture partner with Sure Ventures, and our ticker on the LSE is SURE. Please come along and talk to us. Thank you very much.